Radio, the nation's interactive station. Tommy Boyd.
When a documentation setting out the research into this next topic arrived at my desk, I found it necessary to engender as much enthusiasm for the idea as possible, because on an initial look, at my first glance, on first tasting, I thought to myself, I'm not sure what there is here. But as I worked my way through the analysis, I realized that it is an important topic, a far more important topic than any that we have covered this year, 1998. Free call 0500 1053 89 is the telephone number. It may take a few seconds for you, but then I'd be interested to get your collected thoughts and your reaction to what I'm about to reveal. Between now and 4 o'clock, we discuss sheep. Sheep. Britain's sheep. At best, they're useless. At the worst, they're downright dangerous. Free call 0500 1053 89. Let's eat them all, now, the whole lot of them, and have done with the whole thing. And then we can put them out of our minds and move on. Free call 0500 1053 89. Sheep gave us BSE and CJD. Cattle didn't. Farmers didn't. The Ministry of Agriculture didn't. John Selwyn Gummer didn't. Sheep did. Sheep have harboured a disease called scabies for centuries. And yet we eat them. And yet we feed them to cows. And we blame cows. And we blame farmers. It's sheep. It's as simple as that. Well, we don't know to what extent scabies is an epidemic amongst the sheep population. All we know is that sheep cause BSE. When we talk about the cause and the culprits, in connection with the greatest disaster that the British agriculture has ever experienced, we must remember that the culprit is one and only one, and that is our sheep. Free call 0500 1053 89. At best, they're utterly useless. At the worst, they're downright dangerous. And I haven't got to the rest of the dangers yet. Vegetarians would be on our side, because if we had no more sheep, we would have no more cruelty to sheep. Free call 0500 1053 89. Like zebras, sheep serve no purpose in nature except as wolf food. And we've done away with wolves in Britain, the last one being killed on the site of what is now the end of runway 5 at Heathrow Airport some 200 years ago. And yet we still have sheep. Animals that we don't need. Free call 0500 1053 89. Animals which contribute nothing. Animals which increase the danger to humanity. And the dangers are many. Some people eat lamb, and many people object to that. If lamb wasn't on the menu, nobody would miss it. And if you couldn't buy woolens, nobody would miss them either. Because that's the only product that sheep deliver, wool. And wool is vastly overrated. You pay premium pounds for woolen garments which shrink and which absorb the damp. If you couldn't buy woolens, again, you wouldn't miss them. You'd be an awful lot better off. Man-made fibres. Whether you're an expert or a man or a woman in the street, man-made fibres are far superior. Free call 0500 1053 89. Think of all the land that sheep use up, that could be used for higher purposes. Football pitches, motorways, shopping centres, housing estates, industrial estates, even golf courses. And what about those poor farmers? It's well known that one of the sources of the most debilitating illnesses facing farmers in Britain today is organophosphate poisoning, which is delivered by the use of commercial sheep dip. This is a fact. This is quite certain. We would be doing Britain's farmers an enormous favour if we got rid of sheep. They wouldn't have to dip the things, and they wouldn't risk their lives. Free call 0500 1053 89. Sheep deliver nothing but negative images to our children. If you look at children's literature, from nursery rhymes, through the racism of Bar black sheep, through to the completely mythological idea that counting sheep will send you to sleep, right the way through, if you like, to one of George Orwell's finest works, in which Animal Farm, in which the sheep are depicted as being the most mindless and easily led animals in the farmyard. 4 legs, good, 2 legs bad. The sheep have got nothing going for them. The Welsh are embracing new pursuits. It would save New Zealanders from poor humour, and it would spare us from newsreel footage of Australians shearing a sheep at 28 seconds. Who needs that? Let's talk about sheep. At best, they're useless. At worst, they're positively dangerous. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening.
This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. Free call 0500 1053 89 now.
And boy, do dead sheep smell. Tony calls from Suffolk. Tony, you're on Talk Radio. We're kicking sheep around in this hour of the programme. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted to correct you about when you said it was scabies. They don't carry scabies, it's scrapie.
Did I say that? Thank you
You
for
did.
paying attention. No, of course I meant scrapie. I beg your pardon.
That's
Yeah.
what you would have done.
Scabies being what?
Scabies is a skin condition with a little mite under the skin, isn't it?
I think so. And scrapie, of course, is...
A neurological condition.
Tony, thank you for your expertise. I'm grateful for your call.
Okay,
Bye. Yep. Joan calls now from Worthing. Joan, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Joan.
Now, I love my lamb, and nobody's going to put me off it. But the thing is this, scrapie has been around for hundreds of years. Now, it only became worse when pellets were fed from the dead sheep, diseased sheep, and made into pellets, food pellets, for grazing cattle. And of course, cattle are cud-chewing animals. They shouldn't be eating these types of pellets. They should not eat meat. And this is what has caused this other problem in cattle.
Well, you see, I'm not convinced about all of this logic, Joan, and indeed nor is the tribunal that's sitting looking at the causes of BSE convinced. That's why they're looking at it all over again.
Yes, but the thing is quite frankly, cud-chewing animals don't eat meat. And the thing is this...
Well, why did they then?
Well, because it was a cheaper way
But they
many
ate
years
it.
ago of feeding...
No, I know, but they ate it.
Oh, yes, they ate it, but don't forget, with their digestive systems and that, they cannot cope with it.
Well, but animals know what's good for them. Why did they eat it?
Well,
you
because-
can't make an animal eat something that it doesn't eat.
No,
you won't
but-
catch a lion eating couch grass.
Well, the thing is this, I suppose, if we were in Africa and we didn't have the type of food we want, we'd eat mealyworms, we'd eat locusts and things like
Well,
that.
I've got news for you, Joan. Way back, that's exactly what we did.
Yes, I know, but we don't do it now, do we? You
Well,
know?
perhaps that's what's wrong. Maybe we should go back to our original diet, which was a few nuts and berries and beetles every
Yeah.
sort of 20 minutes,
Yeah.
instead of a great pork out at the end of the day.
Yeah, and go out with a big club and drag a lady along by her hair and drag her back to the cave.
No.
Come on, we don't want to go back to those days.
No, Joan,
We-
you should try reading a book rather than that collection of pocket cartoons you keep in the toilet.
Oh, no, come on, that's my friend's toilet I watch those in.
Yes, I dare say.
No, but honestly,
Yes.
the thing is this. Cud-chewing creatures should not eat these
No.
meat-based pellets.
No, we've heard that a million times. Surely the thing is this. How many sheep have got scrapie?
Oh, a lot of them.
A lot.
A lot of them.
Most of them?
No, I wouldn't say that. But the
Well,
thing is...
no
that-
Edwina Curry you then.
Pardon?
No Edwina Curry you. She said that because she said most of our eggs are infected by salmonella,
Oh,
she
listen,
had to resign
come
as
on,
a
who
minister.
really takes her seriously?
I do.
Oh, do you do?
I do.
Oh, honestly,
What do you
I
mean?
wouldn't have believed that of
Why?
you. I thought you're your own man.
She's a gorgeous woman.
Have
For
you
a
bought
start.
her latest book?
No, I don't buy her books, I must admit, but I
Oh, well,
think...
there you are then. You're not her greatest admirer then,
I
are
didn't say I
you?
was. I think she's terrific.
You know. Well, the thing is this. She certainly alerted people to the problems of salmonella.
And I want to alert people to the potential problems of scrapie. How do we know that human BSE, or CJD, hasn't leapt directly from people eating scrapie-infected sheep? How do we know?
Well, I'm nearly 69 years of age, and I still love my lamb, and I'm still working.
And
I
you're
still
not
have
Gaga?
Yes,
No, you're not.
I am.
You are Gaga.
No.
You're not Gaga.
No,
Of course you're
well,
not.
I must be to still be working at my age.
What do you do?
I own a fishing tackle shop.
You own a fishing tackle shop.
Yes, I do. And I eat fish. Lots of it.
Yeah. Joan, thank you very much indeed for a rich tour through the circus of your mind. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Here's Dan. He calls from Hatfield. Dan, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hi. I do feel that sheep may be made useful. They may be useless, but I think that, especially going back to your last topic as well about raising tax funds, I think that you would raise quite a lot of tax from Wales if you were to tax sheep.
Understood. That's exactly the kind of humour that we're trying to spare the Welsh and the New Zealanders from, but anyway.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I mean, that was my... I mean, I do feel also that aren't some people allergic to man-made fibres? Because you also said that wool is less superior to man-made fibres.
No.
Is that not the case?
You don't get people allergic to man-made woolens, polyesters. You don't get that.
Oh, okay.
And the acrylic, although it's an endangered species, could very easily be farmed up to the right sort of numbers so that they could provide an alternative to the wool. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's 3:15. The top. Rashid calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Rashid.
Hi, sir.
Sir.
Tommy, you there?
I am. I'm listening very carefully to what you have to say.
I think you have some grudge for the Welsh people, and I think that's why you're picking on sheep.
Well, yeah, they have sheep elsewhere, of course.
I don't think you're being fair on sheep and on the Welsh people. Is that the reason, sir, you're picking on sheep?
I'm not picking on anybody at all, merely finding out what it's like to think about something that you don't often think about from a perspective from which you've never thought about it. Simple as that. Simple as that.
So you're saying you never thought about sheep in that way?
No. Have you?
Well, I don't see them in any, I don't think they cause any kind of harm to anybody.
They do. They cause harm to farmers. They cause harm to the population at large.
Well, I thought farmers make lots of money and, lots of use out of sheep.
You can't spend your money if you're suffering from organophosphate poisoning. The most common cause of which is sheep dip.
Is that proven fact?
Yes.
And I believe you did some research on this.
Plenty of it. It's all in front of me here now.
Okay.
Sheep.
Now, I don't understand
the
why...
dangers of sheep. Sheep, our worst enemy.
I don't understand why, if sheep are such a, bad creatures, and all this time nobody's tried to say anything about them, and we always talk about cows and cattle and these bad things they cause them. Why? How come nobody before you has ever said anything about it before?
Well, it has to do with having a dynamic research team who are blessed with original minds, Rashid. That's the starting point, isn't it? But, sometimes it's surprising that some of the things that there are so many things that you can't see even though they're right in front of you. And the dangers that sheep pose to the population at large, it seems to me, are primarily twofold. One, through the possible link between Scrapie and CJD, and the other to the farmers who at the moment cannot survive as sheep farmers, and yes, they use a type of sheep dip which contains organophosphates.
Right.
So
do you think you deserve some kind of awards for this? For finding out this problem and, warning the public, about it?
The truth is its own reward, Rashid. Thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Sheep. At best, they're useless. At worst, they are dangerous. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening.
Free call 0500 10 53 89.
They're very much a Commonwealth thing, sheep. You only tend to see sheep in large numbers in countries where they also play cricket, which is interesting. That's a fact. That is interesting. Free call 0500 10 53 89. In other parts of the world, they use goats where we have sheep. And, of course, goats give milk and are much more interesting than sheep. I refer you to any children's literature you care to name. The goat is always more interesting than the sheep and tastes better. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And that cheese. You can get sheep's cheese. Have you tasted it? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Mark calls from Leeds. You're on Talk Radio. Mark?
Hello. I want to know why you're giving sheep so much grief. Have they done anything particularly bad to you in recent times at all?
No, not to me personally. I and mine, touch wood, have not been touched by either BSE or organophosphate poisoning, but I care about...
Scientists have told you that BSE comes from sheep, then?
Yes.
Have they?
Yes.
They mainly say it's beef caused, is it not mad cow disease?
No,
it's other name. They don't say mad sheep disease.
Now, you see, you don't listen to your radio, do you, or read the paper very carefully?
Tell me then. Tell me why.
Well, I mean, 10 minutes ago, weren't you listening at the beginning of the programme? Why do I always have to repeat myself? I don't like saying things.
I've just turned in. But sheep, I mean, they don't do much wrong.
Yes.
They walk around in fields.
Yes.
Farmers earn a living off of them. We walk past, we see them, we eat lamb, we wear woolen jumpers, we wear woolen suits.
Yeah, the sheep industry in Britain is heavily subsidised. Second point, Scrapie in sheep. And a condition which has been endemic in sheep for centuries, okay, led to BSE in cattle. Sheep caused BSE.
Well, that's quite fine, but why do you still want to kill them now?
Because we don't need them.
We don't need... Do you wear suits, James? Tommy?
I don't, no.
You don't? Do you wear any wool product at all? Do you know?
I do not. I won't have wool in the house.
You don't?
No.
But many people do. Do you not think about farmers? Perhaps we should talk to a farmer. Farmers will go out of trade if there isn't any sheep, won't they?
Well, how many sheep farmers have we got in Britain?
Well, there's quite a few.
They'd all far sooner have golf courses on their land, you know that.
Well, I don't know. They wouldn't keep sheep. If they'd far sooner have golf courses, they wouldn't keep sheep, would they? They'd have golf courses.
Come and gone when the shepherd was what he was. No longer.
Sheep...
It's not a calling any longer to be a shepherd.
We don't have shepherds. We have farmers who farm sheep and sell wool.
Yeah, well, they're still called shepherds, mate. What else are you going to call them? Farmers who have sheep. Not in the dictionary.
They're still farmers and they farm sheep.
Excuse me, they're shepherds.
Out
I'm sorry, they're shepherds.
Okay, they're shepherds who earn a living from sheep.
Well, what did shepherds used to do then?
They looked after sheep.
And it didn't pay?
It didn't, it does now.
So what, they had a part-time job in the evening?
Woolen suits are very expensive.
So the shepherd used to look after the sheep from dawn until dusk and then go to work? It hasn't changed,
The sheep is his work.
You've got a problem with perceptions. You are somebody who suffers from temporal prejudice.
No, you're being prejudiced against sheep. You're picking on the sheep who can't stick up for itself.
Hey, they've had it easy.
So you can argue against the sheep, but the sheep can't come back and tell you what it thinks of you. And maybe it doesn't like you very much. Maybe it thinks Tommy Boyds is unnecessary.
No, listen,
but it can't tell you, can it?
Excuse me,
but you're picking on it.
We can do better than this. If you don't like what you're hearing, then you have to defend the arguments that you're hearing. You've just learned that Scrapie, in sheep, is responsible for BSE and possibly CJD, the human variant.
You've got the facts, I agree with that.
Thank you. And what about our farmers who are suffering from OP poisoning from sheep dip?
Well, if farmers don't want to keep sheep, then they don't keep them. If they want to, then they take the risks that come with keeping sheep and then subsequently dipping them in that.
But you have to concede that if they choose to do that, and you're here to tell us that often they don't have the choice, they simply have to, that the business is fraught with danger.
There is dangers in it, but if they really don't want to do it, then they don't do it.
Sheep farming is far and away the most dangerous form of farming in the Western world.
Well, the farmers can go farm something else, but there is people who want to farm sheep because it gives them a good living.
Do you know that? Have you ever talked to a rich sheep farmer?
I have no knowledge of sheep. I know sheep farmers, they farm sheep, and it earns them a living. I'm not a sheep farmer.
No, you're not.
I don't know a sheep farmer.
No, you certainly don't. Mark, thank you for that. Free call, yes. Free call 0500 10 53 89. You know, if there'd never been sheep, you know, it wouldn't put a hole in anything, would it? It would not put a hole in nature, in our way of life. It wouldn't put a hole in literature or anything at all. They are like zebras. They're perfectly useless. David calls from St Albans. David, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. I don't know if you must have been to Wales, so you've seen those hillsides there, and there's not many factories you can build on a hillside, are there? The land is useless for anything else there, so that's why they have sheep in Wales, I think. And you wouldn't have any doner kebabs if there weren't sheep, would you? So I think what we'd be missing. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a great fan of doner kebabs, are you?
Occasionally, yes.
You really?
Thing is, if you just want to get rid of animals because they're not useful, then I'm afraid they're all going to have to go, aren't they?
No. Horses, for example.
Well, that's what's the use of them?
Horses?
Yes.
Well, children gain great pleasure from riding them, which they don't get from sheep. Men get great pleasure from racing them, which you can't do with sheep. You've never seen sheep racing.
Yes, I have. Have you seen them with those little jockeys strapped on their back?
Don't be silly. You've never seen a sheep pulling a brewer's dray?
They're not big enough.
No.
No, but that's cruel to the horses then, isn't it?
No. They love it.
They love it, do they?
They love it.
All right, well, we'll keep horses, but what about all the other animals that are just decorative, you know, like the tigers and things? You can't just get rid of something because it's not useful to you.
I would refer you to an excellent book by Paul Clarenvaux entitled Why Big Fierce Animals Are Rare. And if you were to read that and understand that the pyramid chain is in fact, that the food chain is in fact pyramid-shaped, you would recognise the function which lions and tigers fulfill.
Yes.
Yes.
But because this chain may have got interrupted by man, as you say, getting rid of wolves,
yes,
you think that anything underneath that chain should be removed, do you?
Not anything underneath that chain, only things which are dangerous to humanity and unnecessary.
Yes, I think there are actually more accidents in the agricultural field of farming than in sheep farming, you'll find, because more people get injured with farm machinery
Yes.
and going down, slipping into slurry pits,
Yes.
which I admit that's cattle, but
Yes.
you know what I mean? So I think you're being unfair to have a go at sheep, but maybe you can extend it to
It's the most
other
dangerous,
animals.
the most dangerous specialised form of farming.
Sorry?
It is the most dangerous specialised form of farming. Obviously, farmyards are very dangerous places.
They are.
Farm machinery is very dangerous. But, a tractor can be used for 1,001 things, sheep farming being only one of them. The fundamental dangers posed by OP and Scrapey, not just to sheep farmers but to the rest of us, mean that we ought to make up our minds what we think about sheep.
But also, chickens are dangerous because of salmonella.
Yes.
So we're going to get rid of those, and, apart from beef being dangerous because of BSE, so that's 3 of the main meats. Well, fish is fairly dangerous because it comes out of the North Sea, a lot of it, which is polluted with chemicals, as we know. So you're sort of limiting your options for food, aren't you?
No, David, this is glib. Nobody died from cod and chips, did they?
Well, chips did. The fish did, sorry.
Yes, obviously
yes, but
fish were very involved in the...
But fish is reckoned to be poisoned, isn't it? Because they, mackerel are scavengers. They eat the sewage,
Yeah.
So animals are potentially bad for your health.
Yes, you're banging on, aren't you, with the old where will it all end argument?
No.
And I'm much keener on focusing on a single issue here, which is sheep. What do we think?
Well, I will say that the chemical that they use for sheep dips is obviously very dangerous. But whether the farmers use all the precautions which they should do, or whether they tend to be a bit lax after a while, they leave off their protective clothing and don't wear masks and so on. This is circumstances beyond the control of the manufacturer, isn't it? They can recommend what the farmers should do when they're using it, but they may not use it as directed.
Yes. David, thank you for your call. David in St Albans. Sam calls now from Manchester. Sam, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hey, Tommy, hi.
Yo, Sam.
I just want to know, why are you picking on just sheep? Why not cows? What have sheep ever done to you?
Cows have had a pretty bad press of it over the last 10 years. I mean, I don't have to go into details, do I?
No, but,
No.
I mean, why not any other animals? Why is it just sheep?
Because cows have had a bad time of it because of BSE. They got the blame for it and they got slaughtered for it.
Right, what about the chickens then?
Well, chickens have got nothing to do with BSE.
I know, but I mean, why are you just picking on sheep?
Because sheep are the real culprits.
No, but it's the cows. The cows are the BSE.
No, the cows had BSE introduced to their nervous systems by sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We forget that. And we go on eating kebabs.
Yeah, but what about all the lamb? There wouldn't be any lamb.
Well, they wouldn't mind if they never existed. You don't mind not existing, do you?
I would mind if there wasn't any lamb.
Yeah, but you wouldn't mind not existing. Not existing is painless.
No, well, I would like to exist. Existing is my whole point of life.
Ah, but existing as Sam is grand. Existing as a lamb would be different.
Why?
Well, it would be different.
Why would it be different as opposed to existing?
Quite possibly it would be the same experience as being Sam, but I don't think so. Oh, has Sam slipped? Ah, curses. Technology flipped his button. Shame. We got quite existentialist there for a moment. John calls from Middlesbrough. John, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir.
What's the score with sheep, man? Don't you think farmers had enough trouble losing all the cows and everything? They're losing business on the sheep now.
Are they?
Yeah?
Are you sure?
No, I mean, if they don't exist.
Yes.
So they'll lose money, won't they? So it's the farmers that are losing out.
But we have to look at humanity as a whole. The nation consists of more than just its sheep farmers.
Yeah, that's what it was the farmers that fed the sheep, the cows that made the BSE, not the sheep.
Well, you're a rare
then
fish.
You go, oh, cow, eat me.
No. It's rare for somebody to start defending our farmers. It's brave of you, grand of you, John, but a rare thing. Are you a farmer?
No.
No?
I just don't think it's fair on them.
Well, life isn't fair, is it?
Well, it is for me.
Is it?
Aye?
I doubt it. But we'll set that to one side and continue discussing what we think about sheep.
No, but, Tom, I mean, are you there?
Yes? Definitely got a slight technological problem this afternoon, but I don't mind. Mike's on the line now from Lowestoft. You're on Talk Radio. Mike, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Sir.
I've been standing here listening to you, and I have got to pick you up on one thing. You said no one died from fish and chips.
No?
I come from Lowestoft, and I'm sure there's several people in this town who can suggest that there have been.
Well, they died catching them, yes.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the same as a lamb farmer suffering from organophosphates. That wasn't the point I was going to make. The point I was going to make was that you have referred to a connection between BSE and CJD in humans, which has not been proved. What will happen if they ever prove that CJD could be attributed to radio waves?
We're insured for that.
That's a good answer.
I know. We are.
Well, there's not a lot I can say about that, is there?
No.
You must have a fairly good insurance policy.
Not only that, we're pushing out another argument, which is that CJD was caused by Chernobyl.
Well,
yeah.
I hope you're right.
So do I. Because Chernobyl happened in the March of 1986, and CJD became something of a problem about 6 months later. And the way in which the isotope, that's to say the type of radiation which was delivered by Chernobyl, proceeds through the nervous system and targets one of our glands, and I've forgotten which one unfortunately, but which is responsible for creating the protein which is attacked by BSE and CJD in the mind, in our neurological system, is exactly the same as what happens with BSE. So I'm banging that drum, Mike. Is that all right?
That sounds very plausible.
Yes. And you're right.
I don't know where the connection between the BSE or the BSE and cattle has come from. I mean, they've always said that it's beef cattle and we've to stop eating beef, but I understood that the biggest problem was in dairy cattle with the BSE.
Is that right?
Well, I don't know how many beef farmers have had very much of a problem with it. I thought it was more the dairy farmer that had the main problem.
When Chernobyl went up, the first thing that they did in the immediate vicinity was to slaughter all their dairy cattle.
Right.
All their grazing animals.
Yes.
The reason for that is, once again, because the particular isotope, that type of radiation that came from Chernobyl, when it falls as rain, lands on the grass, and it stays there for 2 or 3 days, and is then consumed in significant quantities by grazing animals.
And into the chain?
Yes.
Right.
That's
so
right.
How comes more people have not suffered? I mean, there's only been 24 people who really seem to have suffered in this country. How comes just 24 and no one else?
I can't answer that question, although it will be interesting to look at the locations of those cases.
And how comes domestic pets who are more likely to eat parts of animals which would be suggested to be dangerous, or more dangerous than other parts, how comes there's not more cats and dogs sort of staggering around looking like that film that I've seen of one BSE infected
cow
on the television, which they keep sort of pulling out of their bottom drawer?
There'll be a conspiracy theory in years to come that there was no BSE.
Well, I hope you're right.
That's how things work.
It doesn't help us at this point in time.
There's a palpable conspiracy theory which is just coming out and doing the rounds that John Lennon was killed by the American government because he was preaching revolution and.
I've got another conspiracy about somebody else, but I better not say that until I've spoken to someone privately.
Really? Somebody in the public eye?
Well, they used to be.
They used to be?
Yeah, but I better not suggest that because people have laughed at me about it. Anyway, as a Reading supporter, Tommy, will you do an hour on isn't relegation to Division 2 a wonderful thing?
It's fantastic,
I don't know whether you're a Portsmouth supporter or Fulham.
Bit of both, so I know a bit about relegation.
Yeah, will you do an hour on that?
It's a good idea. Were you there when Reading played Pompey?
No, I was there on Monday when Gaza turned up.
Oh, really?
All the press were there.
Yes.
And they had not very much to report about. What a fantastic game Reading had.
You know all that stuff about Gaza's haircuts?
Yes.
It was blonde, it was green, it was,
Yeah.
He's going bald now, and nobody said anything.
Well, he had a skinhead on Monday. He looked rather normal close up, and
he's got a Prince Charles patch at the back. I shouldn't gloat, but if you've got a full head of hair, you do.
Great.
Cheerio. Hey, listen, I'm going to hand you back the switchboard. Just mention the conspiracy theory, and I'll decide whether it can be broadcast. Okay?
Okay.
All right. There we go. You pick up Mike and just see whether we can get details to broadcast about his conspiracy theory. He's on 6. Excellent. John calls now from London. John, you are on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Sir.
I was ringing you about sheep, actually, but can I just try and answer a question that Mike asked about why there's so few cases of human CJD?
If you can, yes.
Well, a possible answer, and it's a possible answer, is that the disease takes 10 or more years to develop. And there certainly is a case of a girl who has got CJD who hadn't eaten beef since 1985, and it developed last year. Whether she's one of the quick developers or the slow developers, nobody knows. And, I mean, that's just a possible answer. Right. Anyway, I was ringing you about sheep. I think you're a bit over the top over one or two things, but by and large, I agree with you, and I'd like to make one point, if I may, and ask you one question. point I'd make is that I've read, I don't know if this is true, that your average hill sheep farmer gets about 40% of his income from subsidy, which I think you mentioned is subsidised, but I don't think many people realise quite to what extent we are subsidising them.
That's the figure I've got, yes. Well done.
And the other point is, and this is the thing I thought of a little bit, but I'm interested to hear your answer. One answer you suggested was golf courses. What do you think should be done with a lot of these hill farms, which at the moment produce sheep? What alternative use do you think they should be put to?
I don't think we're beyond terracing our hills, as they do in so many other countries. Tibet, for example, and I've also visited Machu Picchu in Peru, where 3,000 or 4,000 years ago, they were conversant with a means of providing, no matter how steep the incline, providing the farmer with a perfectly level and very well drained surface for traditional farming.
Do you think that...
Arable, soft fruit.
That sounds great, but do you think it's realistic to expect people in this day and age to do that?
If the Incas can do it, and if the Shambalans can do it, then I'm sure the Welsh can.
Well, could the Welsh build pyramids, do you think, in this day and age?
With Japanese help, probably.
I do think that the sheep, in fact, another thing you didn't say, I think they are responsible for the poor state of some of the hill farms, because they puddle the ground and it rains like nobody's business up there, as you probably know.
Yes.
And half the goodness just gets washed down into the sea.
You're quite right, they're mud machines.
Yeah.
All that grass that gets eaten, now, if you're farming dairy, all that grass that's taken in, you get a pint of milk, don't you, from a couple of square yards of grass. Now, that's efficient, isn't it? But what do you get from 2 acres of grass if you've got a sheep on it? A hat.
A lot of mud, basically.
And mud, hat and mud.
Yeah.
John, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts. I'm grateful for your call.
My pleasure.
Our pleasure. Free call 0500 1053 89. We're talking about sheep. At best, useless. At worst, public enemy number 1. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Free call 0500 1053 89.
It's funny, so many of the things that you take for granted, and from the earliest age, I would bet one of the first animals that you thought you knew about was the sheep. Because they're everywhere, aren't they, in nursery rhymes and children's literature and children's television programs. And so we settle them to the back of our minds as familiar, comfortable, certainly safe images. Our friend in the field, old Larry the Lamb. But no. We have to come up to speed on just what sheep mean to us. They mean an enormous tranche of Britain's beautiful countryside is taken up with a very unproductive animal. And it delivers not only BSE to our cattle, but via organophosphate poisoning, the biggest threat Britain's farmers face, sheep. At best, they're completely useless. At worst, they're very, very dangerous. Alex calls from London.
Yep, you're saying that farmers... You're saying that sheep cause BSE, right?
Yes.
Well, isn't it a bit unfair to say that? Because, farmers shouldn't have used these unnatural farming methods in the first place to start this this disease. It was the humans' fault in the first place, the farmers.
That argument is in place, but who's responsible for scrapie in sheep?
Scrapie, and how is that caused?
Exactly my question to you, sir.
Well, but your main argument was the CJD, and the CJD is caused by farmers, so...
Ultimately, it's scrapie in sheep that caused CJD in humans.
Yeah, but, one of the first arguments that somebody who rang up said that was that they fed them pellets from a diseased sheep, so wasn't that was the farmer's fault, wasn't it?
Well, only fault if they knew that what they were doing was potentially dangerous.
So you can't really place the blame on the sheep, can you?
No, but I'm asking us all of us to reassess our view of the sheep.
The sheep has just innocently been, it really is innocent because it's a bit stupid because it's been, that's the way it's been treated, and that's how it got the disease.
Well, we don't know how it got the disease. What we do know is that farmers will tell us that scrapie has been in sheep for centuries.
Yeah, but is it really fair to say that you could just go and destroy it because it has a disease? Because, people get AIDS. Do we just say that we go out and destroy everybody who's got AIDS?
It's an interesting idea
they're dangerous to the community.
For a programme, I must say, it's a bit extreme, if you don't mind me saying so.
No, but that's what you're really saying, isn't it? You're saying that...
no, there's a world of difference, I hope, between sheep and sufferers of HIV, for goodness sake.
No, it's the same principle.
But
you're going out to destroy something, which is... which is just you're destroying it because it has a disease. And then that's the same principle. That really is, isn't it?
It's one of my objections. It's one of the reasons why we should look at sheep differently, Alex. And, it's an important thing here. If sheep had little spindly legs or tentacles, okay, or were bug-eyed, then they wouldn't be the friendly thing that you remember from your nursery days.
Yeah, no, but
now this is...
You're talking about spiders and things like that, yeah?
This is visualism.
But, I mean...
Because sheep look cuddly, and because they had a good press when you were reading nursery rhymes, you won't hear a word said against them.
Tigers look cuddly, but,
What about Barbar black sheep?
That's just... How can you say that's racist?
Well, I didn't. You did.
No, but earlier you said that's a very racist, nursery rhyme.
Just testing. Good.
Barbar black sheep.
Oh, do it then, because I don't remember all the words. Go ahead.
No, I don't know all the words.
No, don't feign that. I can't remember all the words to Barbar black sheep with me, sir. Come on, let's do it. Ready? Together. Barbar black... Come on. Sheep.
Have you any
wool? Yes, sir, yes, sir. 3 bags full. Carry on. 1 for the...
I don't know.
Master.
1 for the... And 1 for the little boy down the lane?
Yes. What does it mean?
It's just innocent, isn't it?
Pardon?
It can't be racist. It's just people have made it into something that's racist, but it wasn't racist before.
I think it's something of a hymn to the agricultural feudalism of several centuries ago, Alex. But nevertheless, it is banned from a number of children's schools.
That's stupid. Banning it from a school. I mean, how is a three-year-old kid gonna understand how to that this is what was going on? Why was it made up? He's just seeing it because
maybe, but it does reinforce in him the idea that there are masters and servants, and we're better than that now. This is 1998.
Masters and servants. There's masters and servants everywhere. The dog is your servant, and you're his master.
Yeah, but there.
It's true. I mean, when you have a dog as a pet,
yes,
really, you're
all right. Well, if we can be the masters of dogs, then why can't we be the masters of sheep?
We are though.
Exactly. So why don't we exercise this authority in the proper way?
We're not though, because they're not. They're not exercising the authority in the proper way. They're creating diseases, CJD, BSE, by using unnatural methods, and that's their fault. What goes round comes round.
What goes round comes around. Alex, it's been invigorating listening to you. Thank you for your call.
Okay, bye.
Till next time.
Bye.
Yeah. I enjoy it when they're having their holidays. You know, half get some workouts. The number is free call 0500 10 53 89. And next we play Talk Radio's registration rollover. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. It's 5 to 4 and we speak with Vic, who calls from Surrey. Vic, you're on Talk Radio, sir.
Hi, Tommy. I'm a bit sleepy listening to that talk about sheep. But what I rang up about, you're saying that sheep aren't very intelligent, etc.
No.
Well, it's rather strange because Shakespeare and William Cowper both got a phrase, silly sheep.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase. Henry IV, Part 3, is something about 2 shepherds looking on their silly sheep. And Cowper used this phrase, "His silly sheep, what wonder if they stray?"
Yeah.
I mean, what do they mean by silly sheep?
They mean that sheep are silly. Vic?
They're not silly at being sheep, are they?
Now, that's a very good point.
I mean, how have they survived so long? They're not aggressive. They can't burrow underneath like rabbits.
They survived so long because we've looked after them. They can't look after themselves. They can't fend for themselves. You could go so far as to say they are a burden.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I've just always... I mean, you might not think it's dangerous, but when you get these strange subjects like seagulls or swans or sheep, I look it up in the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations.
I'm grateful.
There's about 36 references to sheep. Then I looked to see if anything interesting.
Yes.
And I saw that 2 references to silly sheep.
Yeah. Vic, thank you very much indeed for your literary contribution, and we'll round things up with this review of our perspective on sheep by talking to Eric, who calls from Herne Bay. Eric, you're on Talk Radio, sir.
Hello, mate.
Eric.
Listen, first of all, congratulate you on knowledge of this BSC, etc. You must have been watching a similar programme to what I've watched. It was actually World in Action that come out with a lot of information about sheep. But a couple of points I sort of must pick up. I just heard sort of one gentleman say that sheep are sort of non-harmful and won't do anything to us. Well, actually, they bite you if they get a chance. I talk from experience, being as a kid around sheep on my dad's farm. Now, a lot of the time, if you're getting away with them, they will actually nip you quite happily. They can actually be quite aggressive.
Is that right?
Yeah, they really can be. But I mean, as for things like people were commenting on, well, if the farmers had a choice of not being able to use the sheep dips, use something else, and they're not well protected, For the best part of 30, if not coming up 40 years now, the government didn't actually let out how dangerous the chemicals were. And a lot of the time, many years ago, the farmers didn't know how dangerous these chemicals were. It was a case of they were offloaded off the trucks. Here is the sort of information of how it should be used. Use it because your other chemicals that we're using at the present time weren't killing off bacteria, etc., etc. It's a case of dig a hole, board it off, pour the chemical in. While you're there, put your sheepdog in it as well. And that's a lot of time that we did.
Yes.
You know, so...
How is your dad?
My dad at the present time, he's actually okay.
Good.
But he's still sort of actually taking treatments and what have you for, and tests to see if he's got anything from it.
But you never thought you'd live to see the day when your father's profession was spoken of as being one of the most dangerous that there is?
It is most definitely the most dangerous profession there is going.
Eric, thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Stand by for Peter Dealey and Britain's fastest moving drive time. I look forward to talking with you from 2 tomorrow. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.